Hey, muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. And as always, muchísimas gracias to everyone for your guys' words, prayers, your time, as for everything you express and send my way. Thank you. I appreciate everyone from the Cora. Now, to get into the story on him, today I want to talk about Cherilo Grajeda, and more so on a decision that got taken on some camaradas due to him and his carnales, and how politics have a funny way of playing out and carrying over to camaradas, right? Or to gente in general. But first and foremost, I want to take you back, with Cherilo, it happened around the time, he caught that case that eventually ended up putting him away for life with his nephew. But this is when he was out there. One thing the Grajedas had, they were some real strong individuals when they meant to put the MS word or push their power, right, on neighborhoods. For example, when he was out there, he had a lot of homies, right, for Carson City, as from Westside Wilmas, and other neighborhoods. But I want to focus on this, which is the topic on hand, right? But anyways, at this time, he had two camaradas. The homie Shy from Westside Wilmas, old man Shy, as those that knew him up in the Bay referred to him, right? Talking about people that knew him from the 80s. He was a little older homie, right? And the homie from Carson City, Gato. Now, keep in mind, these camaradas, they've been doing time since, I don't know when they started, right? But they had them old CDC numbers, and they pretty much knew everybody from back in the days. And of course, they always extended their hand, and, they were there for the causa, per se. Nevertheless, it just happened to coincide with the time Cherilo was out there, and of course, Cherilo utilized this because of the weight they had to carry in their neighborhood, from their age, and they're doing time, and for many reasons, as we all tend to respect them camaradas that are much older in age and been there, done that, and those beliefs we have as in the barrio, right? Anyways, a lot of things were happening out there. For example, as you know, these neighborhoods, they have the respectful pili that runs them, right? So you had a lot of bumping heads with crews, which you always tend to hear of, right? Because pilis, they take it as a pili stepping on another pili's toes. Nevertheless, at this time, Cherilo was the only strong one still standing. The Wino and Guate, they were already in the shelf. And, a lot of channels or people that I personally respect have already put it out there, right? Which is Cherilo was, well, in his head, he was stringing the M along, right? Other carnales, on the point that he will buck up against his own family. Which, sincerely hearing the conversations, right? None of them believe it. What they believe is in the dope and feria he was touching base with. That's why they attempted to string him along for as long as they did. But in that string along, of course, he had a lot of neighborhoods, homies in his hands. Now, do keep in mind with this story, I want to leave with a question. For those that can take a sec to give me your point of view, it'd be much appreciated. But anyways, during this power struggle, it kind of happened in the same time lapse, right? That happened with his nephew and the current situation that put him away. And anyways, Shy and Chato, they ended up getting busted along with with numerous of homies right from the area that were under cherilo. It's just funny how the feds work, right? They bust him on a hot one. Shortly after, all the crew supporting him on the streets, they all start getting cracked, right? Now, not gonna come on here, and I do understand the man is resting in peace, right? So I'll keep it short and to the point. By this time, he's already what I refer to as meando fuera la cazuela, which is going against his brothers or the organization that he's promising to uphold, even amongst blood, right? But again, these camaradas, they went back quite some time, on a personal level. So once they hit county or after county, they were the ones that uprise it, right? Because they felt as though it was a correct thing, which was, his two brothers, even though on the shelf, they were big parts still of Cherilo's doings. And what I mean at this, there was a couple camaradas that at one point, somewhere or another, were in bad standings with Wino or Cuate, and Cherilo took care of the motors, right? He seen them go through as his brother's wishes, so it was obviously clear that he was still in contact with his brothers. Again, I understand that in a personal level, right? But at an organization level, there's promises being made, and he's pulling them that got the ways to do what he wants and play a part. You know what I always talk about, doing one thing with one hand and at the same time doing complete opposite with the next, right? But again, I don't want to touch too much on this Billy, right? As you guys know, within time, he himself got busted, got life, and he was no longer in use to them, so they didn't have to pay that part with him no more. So he ended up joining his carnales. Now, my story lies is, when he ended up joining his carnales before that, he had put on the bad news list with no reason, as they tend to do with homies, Shy Boy and Chato, which was respected as so, right? For one, you guys know Corcoran and Wino, there was a lot of understanding when it came to Wino and his power hungry and his ways, and it is why one of the reasons they clipped his wings. But this is before I went to the feds in the Bay, where they were up there pleading their case. What I mean is, they were bringing up to Billy's from their area, like Raul, Sleepy, Toñito, Ek, pleading their case how they were lied on, which again, it was a common thing amongst them, right? It wasn't like it was something out of left field that was surprising to everyone. But since down the line, if I don't really recall well if it was in county jail or in reception shortly after, but they ended up getting hit due to Cherilo and him again, pressing on people to cover up his tracks where they were known for, right? It was easier to remove a camarada than to basically try to guide him to support him in the correct way. It ain't correct, but at least you're not throwing away a loyal camarada. But nevertheless, they got put on the list, they got hit. Now, this is years later. We're talking about when this happened was 2010, 11, somewhere there. And when they're pleading their case, it's 2015 or shortly after 2015, and they were holding tough. The shoe is hard. From experience of all the years I spent back there on single cell walk alone, and being in the cell all day and already having a lot of obstacles to converse or conversate with with camaradas or señores, to be on the chaineada, right? Which, to be honest, in the Bay, it wasn't being respected. Like I said, these camaradas went back far, right? There was nothing shady about them, and it was well understood that these guys were known for this type of thing, right? A lot of people always talk about Cuate, and I personally was never on a personal note of what is doing, right? So I'll be out of place to speak about it. But I was on Winos, and I can't picture another Billy that's worse than Wino. Remember, Wino got his wings pulled, cause for a while everywhere he landed, he was having a camarada kill over nothing. That's the first thing he did in Corcoran, right? Over a camarada sending a book to him, trying to look out for him not to be looking at all four walls to have something. But since he sent it with the Huda, he sent the Hudas to his cell. Again, it's always a lose-lose situation with them. But Cherilo was, I don't want to say this word, but he was good, right? Uncovering his things. But nevertheless, he was one of them, right? What I mean by that is he was in love with the carga. He was a tecato. And a mean one at it, right? But anyways, where I want to get at is just putting a little backtrack on the Grajedas, right? And their doings and how they were and how they would always wash somebody up over nothing. And it was well understood. That's why they got removed, per se, amongst other reasons, right? And these were good camaradas supporting the causa for a lot of years. Now they could have been back there and just said, man, I'm tired, I got to go, but nevertheless they held down and they were back there pleading their case because they did not want to step to that side. They did not want that on them because in reality, if you're doing live, right, everything you've done and fought for, now you're stuck to be taken away from you with lies just to cover their tracks, which it did not work, right? It was well aware Cherilo was already in the shelf as his brothers. But here's the kicker, right? And where I want to touch on. Camaradas, sureños, campoleros, we hold no value to these individuals. Because even though everything was clear on this Billy's doings and their dirty politicking for benefit for them and what you see a lot of right now, they're pleading and they're going back to the war times, Folsom, Corcoran, Ek, wherever, right? And we're actually rubbing able supporting. That's all the time they were maintaining solid back there, even though they were looked at in a negative way. They were still there. But they did not get no understanding from any Pili. Basically, that conclusion came that Cherilo's decision was going to uphold. Because with Cherilo, it was maybe not, who knows, right? But they couldn't take that chance. It was easier to really remove him from the program, which in time came, right? With the shoe kickouts, they couldn't hit the linea because, it's just a death sentence, right? So they went on their way, right? Or I wouldn't be able to tell you to the dot. So I won't assume. But Raul, Sleepy, Toñito, and others decided they could not be trusted. It's easier to remove him from the program, the Sureño program, per se, because they have entitlement when it comes to camaradas Sureños, right? And then to have someone there that might not be trustworthy. Again, there was nothing pointing there. At least in the case of Shai, I got to read a lot of things in regards to him, right? There was actually another camarada he was from Eastside Wilderness, that he was older, that had a lot of good things to say about the homie. He just opted to stay quiet because I myself was in that spot where sometimes, instead of being man and stepping up, I was a coward. So to not be put in the bullseye zone, I knew how things were and I just decided to stay quiet. But Ken, I'm on here for a message. My message is, just be smart. Man, ever since this thing happened and It's a big blessing, and I don't say that as a weenie, right? It's just life is beautiful, man. There's no point to be sitting back there, suited and booted, ready to boogie, wasting your time, your life, excuse me, making your family suffer to come to the realization that you're gonna be thrown out, your family's gonna get used and abused. Nothing you do is gonna be worth it. You have to earn your keep by being as shady to them and playing under their rules and regulations. Keep in mind, each one has different ones. But the question I want to leave everybody with, tell me the value that Pili members have for Sureños Campoleros when their whole career have done nothing but positive support, solidness per se in that realm, right? How many of them on a personal level. But with one of the sturdiest, snakiest tecatos that is known for this as his carnales decides that they're no good and they have the chance and they have the grounds to do so, right? To extend some love, some support, it's easier to go along with it, to see if maybe there's still supporters from the Grajedas out there that will start politicking on them. It's always about their needs, right? But again, this is just a glimpse inside. I just want to leave everybody with that question. What does everyone think on the value from a Pili towards a Sureño? And keep in mind, Abato, however you want to call me, that I myself thought myself to be with the rules and regulations to the fullest, just to put it like that. But since 1996, 2 years ago, it wasn't worth anything. So I want that question from different point of views. Where do you think that value is at? Bueno, mi gente. Again, just be wise. Love that is worth it. Please stay true to yourself and loyal to loved ones. Buenas noches.